Do you want to know what goes on inside an air traffic control tower? You might be surprised to learn that there's more going on than just talking to pilots. In this video, we're going to take a look at some of the many things that air traffic controllers do to keep the sky safe. Let's get into it. Welcome back to the channel. It's me, and if you haven't already, go ahead and subscribe and join the SkyNotch family. We release 2 new videos every week, so there's always fresh content coming your way. Air traffic controllers have one of the most stressful jobs on the planet. Not only do they have the safety of hundreds of people in their hands, but they also need to make sure that everyone is following the rules and that planes are spaced appropriately apart. One of the ways that air traffic controllers do this is by using radar. Radar works by sending out radio waves to see how long it takes for them to come back. The time it takes for the signal to return indicates how far away an object is, and computers can calculate the distance based on the time it takes for the signal to return. This allows air traffic controllers to keep track of everything that's going on in the sky at all times. Now, controllers don't actually see the planes themselves. What they're really seeing is a blip on a screen that represents a particular aircraft. So when you hear controllers talking about a blip on their scope, that's what they're referring to. Now these blips are color-coded depending on the type of aircraft and its altitude. For example, commercial jets will typically be shown in green, while general aviation aircraft may be shown in other colors. Some blips may also have a little tail behind them, indicating the direction that the plane is heading. But remember, controllers are responsible for making sure that everyone is following the rules and that planes are spaced appropriately apart. So if they notice that 2 planes are getting too close to each other, they'll issue a warning to both pilots and then direct them to take appropriate action. But it's not just about keeping planes apart. Controllers also need to make sure that there's enough space between planes for if an emergency landing was to occur. For example, if there's a single runway available, controllers will typically space planes out by 3 nautical miles. This gives each plane enough space to land safely in case an emergency situation does occur. Speaking of emergencies, another thing that air traffic controllers do is coordinate with other agencies in the event of an emergency. For example, if a plane crashes, controllers will typically be the first to know. They'll immediately notify the nearest airport, and the authorities will coordinate the response. Controllers may also need to coordinate with other agencies in the event of a weather emergency or a terrorist attack. So those are some of the things that air traffic controllers do on a daily basis. Now let us take it a step further and talk about what happens when you're inside the tower itself. The first thing you'll notice when you walk into an air traffic control tower is that it's very quiet. There's a lot going on in that room, and the last thing that air traffic control wants is for someone to accidentally say something that could cause confusion. That's why it's so important for visitors to stay quiet when they're in the tower. The second thing you'll notice is that there are a lot of screens around. These screens are used to display information such as weather radar, the position of other aircraft, and airport information. The controller uses this information to make decisions about how to best manage the flow of traffic. In addition to the screens, you'll also see a lot of equipment in the tower. This equipment is used to communicate with the pilots and to control the lights and other equipment at the airport. For example, the equipment that controls the beacon and the rotating light at the airport is located in the tower. Finally, you'll probably notice that the walls of the tower are covered in lights. These lights are used to indicate different things such as the status of the various systems in the tower and any potential problems that need to be addressed. So now that you know a little bit about what goes on inside an air traffic control tower, let's talk about some of the equipment that controllers use to do their jobs. One of the most important pieces of equipment for an air traffic controller is the radio. The radio is used to communicate with pilots and other controllers. When a pilot tunes into the controller's frequency, they can then talk to the controller and receive instructions. The radio is also used by the controller to talk to other controllers and to get information about the planes that are in the sky. Another important piece of equipment for an air traffic controller is the radar scope. The radar scope is used to track the position of planes in the sky. It shows the controller where the planes are in relation to the airport and other planes in the sky. The scope also gives the controller information about the speed and direction of the planes. This information is used by the controller to make decisions about how to best manage the flow of traffic. In addition to the radar scope, air traffic controllers also use a flight data processing computer. The F-index computer is used to get information about the planes in the sky. It shows the controller information such as the altitude, speed, and destination of the planes. This information is used by the controller to make decisions about how to best manage the flow of traffic. Now let's talk about one of the most important pieces of equipment for an air traffic controller, the control console. The control console is the central hub for all of the equipment in the tower. It's used to control the radio, radar, and flight data processing computers. The control console also has a screen that displays all of the information that the controller needs to know about the planes in the sky. As you can imagine, there are a lot of moving parts in an air traffic control tower. But it all comes down to one thing: safety. Air traffic controllers work hard to keep everyone in the sky safe. They use the equipment at their disposal to track planes, communicate with pilots, and keep an eye on the weather. In the event of an emergency, controllers are trained to handle the situation calmly and efficiently. Thanks to the hard work of air traffic controllers, flying is one of the safest ways to travel. Now let's talk about one of the most common questions that people ask about air traffic control: the difference between approach and ground control. Approach control is responsible for the safe and orderly flow of air traffic arriving at an airport. They provide air traffic control services to aircraft from 25 miles out to 3 nautical miles from the airport. This includes issuing approach clearances and providing sequencing of aircraft on final approach. Ground control, on the other hand, is responsible for the safe and orderly movement of air traffic on the ground at an airport. They provide air traffic control services to aircraft from the point they land until they reach the gate. This includes taxiing instructions, gate assignments, and information about the airport. So basically, approach control handles things as you're coming in to land, and ground control handles things once you've landed. Now that you know a little bit more about air traffic control, be sure to watch this video where we go behind the scenes at an air traffic control center. You'll learn about the different types of controllers and the equipment they use to keep the skies safe. Also, if you want to learn more about aviation, be sure to check out my podcast. Thanks for watching, and see you next time. You might be surprised to learn that it takes a lot of coordination to keep the planes flying smoothly through the skies. Air traffic controllers are responsible for making sure that there's enough space between planes and that they're following the rules. In the event of an emergency, controllers will typically be the first to know, and they'll coordinate with other agencies to make sure that everyone is safe. If you ever get the chance to visit an air traffic control tower, be sure to take it. You'll get a chance to see the inner workings of one of the most important pieces of infrastructure in the world. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.